Welcome to Tech Talent Today, where IT leaders share their tough challenges, creative solutions, and latest insights. You'll discover fresh ideas and inspiration here with your host, IT staffing veteran and president of Claremont Technologies, Jody Kulik-Mayer. And now, here's Jody.
Everyone's talking about AI, and here's what really matters for your career. While AI likely won't replace your job, the people who skillfully use these tools are already gaining a significant advantage. Those who embrace and master these powerful tools truly gain a tremendous edge. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome Bob England, a senior executive of the Infrastructure and Operations Department for a P&C carrier in the insurance industry. Bob is passionate about making AI immediately useful for professionals and recognized the clear need for practical guidance, which led him to begin developing a guide on AI prompt engineering. While focused on the insurance sector, his work holds invaluable lessons for all tech professionals looking to unlock the true potential of AI in their daily tasks, from optimizing infrastructure to streamlining operations. We'll explore how mastering prompt engineering is positioning IT talent to lead the tech landscape of tomorrow. If you're in infrastructure, operations, or any IT role, this conversation with Bob could be a career accelerator. Bob, welcome to Tech Talent Today.
Jody, thanks for having me. I've been looking forward to this. It's an opportunity for me to hopefully talk about something that I enjoy and have been leveraging a lot and see a bright future for as we move forward in the whole paradigm shift in what is happening, not only in IT computing, but really across the globe, that just about anybody, no matter what they're doing, can take advantage of and use.
It does seem like the AI conversation is everywhere. And we were talking about it at the HMG Strategy C-Level Conference, how AI can make people more efficient in their jobs. So what got you interested in taking this a step further by writing a guide on prompt engineering for the insurance industry?
So AI is not new. Okay, it's been out there for a while, but generative AI is fairly new in the last couple of years. What really got me interested in it is I started using it more and more and truly see the power of what Gen AI can do for you. There's a couple different components to Gen AI. My guide focuses on the end user side. Okay, how users and people can use generative AI to help them really do things more efficient, more effective. And the more I use it and the better I get at using it, the power that I truly see that this can bring to, the general population.
So what are you seeing that the difference is between the basic usage and then mastering prompt engineering?
Well, the key word that you just said there is prompt. Basic usage is asking a question and getting a response. Asking the right level of information. You also need to be able to kind of set the tone and the strategy of the response that you want back. If you just ask the basic question without thinking about those things, you're going to get an answer, and you may not be happy with the answer, or you may see little value in the answer that you get. So the better your prompt, and we call that prompt engineering, the better prompt that you create, the better the data that you're going to get back from AI. Also, too, you don't want to overwhelm it. You don't want to ask it a novel. Okay, if you've got a whole litany of things that you want to find out or leverage it for, figure out how you break it up in sequential pieces. AI, or most AI tools and engines, will remember the last question that you asked. So you can iterate on the first question and ask it to continue to provide either more data or format the data in a different fashion.
What I think is really interesting, how you said it has to be like the prompt has to be like just right, not too wordy, because I actually took a class on AI prompt engineering and it almost felt overwhelming. I thought their prompts were too long, and even you put so much work into it and then you'd see the answer and you thought, it really wasn't what you were looking for. So I guess what are some of the key things that you'd make sure would be in the prompt? You said like the tone, like what else would be in there?
when you ask the question, you set the stage. I want the answer, or I want my response to be phrased casually, professionally. I want my response to be phrased, or I want the output to be phrased academically as a teacher to student. So you can tell it how you want it to provide the output for you based on how you're going to use it. That's the first step. Then it's about the tone. Okay. It's about how you break the questions up into pieces. Microsoft has a really good document out there that kind of talks about how you break a prompt up into 4 pieces. That's why if you think about the questions that you ask and you kind of break them up, you'll get better responses.
Bob, so I'm curious about what you're seeing in your own organization. Are your tech teams embracing the AI tool?
Well, I think everybody's bracing it because there's so much talk about it. It is something that we talk about, and we're actually striving to get our employees and users to use it. It does require continuing education. Like I said earlier, some people, if you put the question and don't ask the right question, don't give it the right prompt, you may get an answer or an output that you're less than happy with. And you can't learn it, like you said, it gets overwhelming. So you can't learn it all in one go. It's a incremental learning process that allows people to continue how to refine the prompt that they ask. One of the things that you've got to keep in mind when you look at prompt engineering, okay, there are some do's and don'ts that are things that you need to be taken into consideration. Be specific about what you want and use context to guide the output. You want to provide clear instructions that will give it better results, as I mentioned earlier. Tell it, what tone you want it to use. Set the situation. And remember, iterate. You may ask a question, how can I build a network strategy? If you ask them that, you'll get an answer, but it's likely not to have a lot of detail. So after you ask that question, you may follow it up with another question, such as, in that strategy, I want you to define software defined WANs, firewalls, load balancing. You let it then respond to that. Based on what it gives you, you may say, I want the load balancer to be F5, and I want my SD-WAN devices to be Palo Alto. And we're currently interfacing our Palo Altos with this device. So help me build that strategy. And the beautiful part about Gen AI is, and where it shines is, Gen AI tools are trained on massive amounts of data. And so they're trained across all the data that exists out there on the internet. Gen AIs will get better as time goes on and as they get trained on more and more data. So the iterating allows you to pull more data out of its, I don't want to say it's a database because it's not, but it's a large language model that is been updated and has all this information. And it's the complex algorithms that are used within these Gen AI tools that allow it to kind of decipher what you're asking for. It looks for key phrases. It looks for repetitive words like the and and it learns how to filter them out while focusing on the important contextual data that you're asking it for. Begin with simple tasks and scale up, as you build more confidence and experience. And I think that's where the iteration comes in. You also want to avoid sensitive data. There are some large language models, some Gen AI tools that will continue to learn based on what you feed into them. So if if you're looking to use it for work, you don't want to send or use sensitive, non-public information. You don't want to use PII data. All those things would feed into the large language model for it to continue to train on itself. Okay. As I mentioned earlier, prompting is the skill of guiding AI with clear instructions, because that's really what your prompt is. It's the instructions that you're telling Gen AI based on context, tonality, and the desired outcomes. Think about it. You're talking to somebody who's fairly smart, but they may not be in your specific business. So the more that you can give them information about what it is you're looking for, the better they're going to be able to provide that usable output for you.
Strategy was one way that you were using it. Um, has anyone on your team come up with a creative use of AI that you've seen?
Well, we're using it a lot. We use it. We've used it to create strategies. We've used it to create outlines. We've used it to email. I'll write an email, and I have all the pertinent information in that email, but I want it to be a little bit more professionalized or upscaled. And so we do use tools such as Copilot within the corporate environment. Personally, I use ChatGPT. I have noticed that there are differences between the different Gen AI products. So I would suggest to your audience sample and play with them to see which ones they believe will give them the best data output. But we also use Gen AI to do code generation. So I've been monkeying around with Python, but you could say, "Hey, write me a Python script or program that will allow me to do X, Y, and Z," and it will generate you a good foundational code base for you to start generating on. One of the things I tell folks repeatedly is Gen AI is not going to put people out of business. Okay. But those people who don't use Gen AI, they're going to find themselves being less effective compared to somebody who does the same job who is leveraging Gen AI. So it behooves everybody to leverage the Gen AI so that they can be as competitive as possible to the next person doing a like job in a like industry that is using Gen AI. Part of my role is infrastructure and operations. I wanted to touch on that Gen AI is just one way of using AI. Just about every major manufacturer of software is now embedding and building in Gen AI capabilities. From ServiceNow to Dynatrace to Big Panda, everybody is now creating AI built into their tools. One of the things I talk about here is relative to just the Gen AI apps that are out there, easily accessible either from a browser or from your mobile device. But there's a lot more to AI than just these apps.
So you're saying a lot more than using the AI and the software tools, using it in addition, like the chat
Oh
GPTs?
yeah, yeah. So today I can feed it a Word doc, a PowerPoint presentation. I could feed it 3 Word docs, and I'll say, compare these 3 Word documents that are about X, Y, and Z. Help me understand the gaps between each of these documents relative to coverage if it's a contract. And then at the very end, I may say, based on what you've analyzed, what do you feel is missing from this? Or what should I be considering when trying to build a contract that protects the company from this exposure, gives them an out clause, etc. So again, there is no one answer because it depends on what you're trying to achieve with the Gen AI tools. But what I explained there is kind of isolated to a Gen AI tool like a Chat GPT or a Copilot or a Grok. Because these other products are building Gen AI capabilities into them, you may find that they'll provide a way for you to provide prompts, but a lot of them will be how are they using the generative AI components in the work that they're doing. So I'll use Dynatrace and Big Panda because there's some observability and AI ops tools that a lot of folks use out there in the marketplace. And Big Panda is the AI ops tool that takes its feeds from Dynatrace. Dynatrace is a tool that will just feed alerts and observability data in. And based on how you've set up and configured Big Panda, it will only pull out relevant data. For instance, if you get 30 alerts of the same thing, Big Panda is going to realize that I've gotten 30 of these. I don't need to create 30 tickets. I only need to create 1 ticket. You can also set thresholds. If you see 30 of these alerts in a 15-minute period, but you could also have other rules that say if you see 30 of these over the course of 2 days, you may want to generate an individual ticket for each of them. So there is a little bit of configuration to tell the generative AI tools and the AI capabilities within these tools how you want to handle the inputs to define the outputs for that you're trying to achieve.
So, do you think someone would need to know special skills to use this, or is it intuitive for someone who's currently in the role?
Well, I mean, it should be intuitive for people who are working with those products. Okay. It's no different than using Word. If you think about Word today, Microsoft embeds Copilot into Word through their O365 Copilot add-on. But you're using Word, but there's a Copilot button that you can click. And from there, you can say, review what I've written and pull out the salient points, and it will give you that data. And maybe you use that data in a PowerPoint presentation. Every product is going to have their own adaptation of how they're going to utilize the embedded AIs that they've created within their tool.
So, how are you seeing like AI change IT infrastructure and operations jobs?
Well, like I said, it's those who don't use AI will be less effective than those who do. I'm going to reiterate some of the things I talked about. We got people who are using uh, GitHub Copilot to generate code. Okay. We've got people who are using the different AIs to generate scripts, PowerShell scripts. Um, Automation is big these days relative to infrastructure and operations and IT in general. So figuring out how you can leverage Gen AI to move your automation initiatives forward is important. And again, if you're a person who's on the front line, you may ask Gen AI to evaluate your logs and point out an error or common themes. If you are a middle level manager, you may have to create a presentation. So you take a write up and you say, format this write up into a 2-page PowerPoint with 5 bullets on each, based on, again, additional criteria that you feed out. If you are an executive and you get a contractor, you've got to present something. You have to curtail the prompt and the context that you provide that is relevant for your job.
Now, if the person is a PowerShell scripter, is the AI going to do that job for them? Like, is that skill set going to go away for a person?
That's a great question. And I think this applies to multiple areas. The answer is no. AI makes mistakes. So you need somebody who has the knowledge to be able to make sure that the code, the PowerShell, the Python is actually accurate, correct, without error. There's a security component that needs to be evaluated of everything that you write, making sure that your code is secure. I think where AI can help in the coding side of things is somebody who's new, somebody who's less senior can use this to help them get a head start, help them get a foundation. Somebody who is more senior, more advanced, maybe in the software engineering or software architecture side, probably will be using it less. They may use it to do evaluations. So scan this code snippet and tell me if I'm using anything that would provide a data leak, or, back in the day, they used to have different types of SQL query flaws that you could inject into a SQL query that would cause machines to core dump and go out to a prompt. So again, it depends, Jody.
Right. Well, I guess the important thing is you said, right, people need to work on their AI skills, which comes back to your book. Um, I saw your book outline, and I liked how you broke it down into logical sections, like explaining what Gen AI is, what it isn't. So how did you figure out how to organize it?
Well, I tried to take a logical approach. I tried to start with the basics. I tried to explain what AI is and what AI isn't. It's not a search engine. It's not a database. Then I tried to talk about prompt engineering, similar to what we talked about, earlier on in the segment. Is what are the things that you need to be thinking about to create the right prompt, get the most value out of a Gen AI tool. I took the premise that I tried to create a Gen AI prompting for dummies type of book. So that's kind of how I laid it out. I tried to lay it out in a very sequential, logical fashion. But also, what we have found out in using AI is people tend to learn best by examples. When they can see the type of prompt that is created and the outputs that get created as a result of that, it gets them to start thinking about how they could use it. And so, in the book that I put together, that I have yet to get published, it was general. So, being that I'm in the insurance industry, I tried to create I'm gonna call it an insurance version. I'm not sure what will become of that when I try to get it published. But what I did try to do, knowing that the different sections within an insurance company around claims and safety management and personal property insurance, personal auto insurance, uh, commercial liability insurance. So I tried to create a section in that book that provided examples to help people wrap their head around it. The number of examples can be endless. So, I tried to keep it short, really, to help people. One of the things that we've also done inside the organization that I work for is we have lunch and learns where we will bring people from different business segments into that lunch and learn, and they'll use real life examples that they've used Gen AI for and how it's helped them. So, meaning they could be sitting next to somebody in their department who may not feel comfortable or as comfortable with it. When they show them how they're using it, then the light bulb goes off and say, wow, you know, I could use it for this, or I could use it for that, or I didn't think about using it for this. So,
Right. So is that like where you got your idea of building AI muscles and doing a prompt of the week? Is that like it's sort of the origin of that?
well, I think your point of AI muscle is spot on. As I mentioned earlier, the more you use it, the better you're going to get, the better output you're going to get, and that's because you're going to be seeing uh, how how AI reacts to the prompts that you ask it. And keep in mind, you can't break AI. Okay, so ask away. Uh, you also have to have an idea of what you're looking for. Okay, otherwise you're not going to be able to validate the outputs that AI gives you, and that is really part of the job that we have as users of AI is the validation. As I mentioned earlier, uh, AI makes mistakes. Okay, um, the hopes are that the more data that AI is trained on, the less mistakes it's going to make, but it still can make mistakes. They call them hallucinations. They're just plain mistakes. So it requires the people who are using um, Gen AI to make sure that the data that they're leveraging is accurate. Some things that I've seen is people will use AI and I don't want to say that they don't read it. They do, but they don't modify it. When I use AI, I try to make it mine. Okay. I make it, I also need to make sure that the audience, just the other day, I was reading through a presentation and it used the word support. Okay. But we were talking about a couple different levels of support. We were talking about intermediary support or advanced support. And because AI chose not to put the intermediary or advanced in front of that, it left the output to be very generic. And that could have been confusing to the consumer of the data that we were putting together. So it is up to the people who are using AI in generating the outputs to make sure that it's appropriate. And again, AI is going to give you what you asked, and it may not be entirely formatted for what you're going to use it for. So I guess what I'm really trying to say here, Jody, is make it yours. When you get the output from Gen AI, make it yours and make it fit the situation in which you're going to be using it for. If you just take what it spits out, it's highly likely you're going to be missing pertinent information that should be a part of what it is you're trying to deliver.
I think you just really like put a point on it that it's the experience of the person that really makes the difference. Because right, so the AI puts out the data, but it's the person using it as a tool for whatever their need is that makes it useful. Because people are afraid AI is going to take their job, but it's just a tool.
It really is. It really is. And we're still in our infancy. You think about how long Gen AI has been around, 2-3 years. I mean, it really started hitting mainstream about 2 years ago. So I've been reading a lot of books around, generative AI in general. There's a lot more to come. If you think about all the different models that are being released through ChatGPT, they started out with older models and they released 3.5, 4. They've got smaller models that are more geared towards analytic and research, deep research. You've got other companies like DeepSeek that have come out with tools. So this is a quickly evolving space that people should try to stay up on. And again, I've done side by side comparisons between the different tools, and there are some tools that I believe, based on me being a technical person, I like more technical detail, gives me more data to work with. Even when I've created prompts for some of these Gen AI tools, some of them I can never get it to give me the data that I'm truly looking for. So I would say play with the different tools out there. But like I said earlier, remember we all have a responsibility to be, to secure our data and make sure that we're compliant with our organization's policies. Different companies have data classification policies, governance policies, access controls, hygiene. So make sure you understand what your organization's do's and don'ts are relative to leveraging Gen AI. A lot of organizations are putting Gen AI governance policies together so that people know what they can and can't use it for. But keep that in mind.
Would you want to suggest any of the tools that you like currently?
Well, I'll tell you what, I think ChatGPT right now is my favorite. I've tried the others. I've used, Copilot, and I think ChatGPT is better. And part of what makes it better is after it gives you your output, it then prompts you with suggestions as to what the next question is that you may think about asking, or do you want it to format it differently? Do you want it to create a PDF? Do you want it to create an outline? Do you want it to create a checklist? So that's what I like about ChatGPT is not only does it give you, in my opinion, better data, more detailed data, it also prompts you for things that you may not think about. And therefore, if it can help you think about things, it's actually helping you get better at asking it questions.
Right. And it all comes back to the prompt engineering and your book.
Good.
So, what advice would you have for people wanting to get started?
Start now. Find a tool. They got free versions out there. You don't have to pay for them. Download them and play with them. I started playing with Gen AI tools probably 2 years ago. It really was over Christmas. I heard Gen AI was really good at creating pictures. And so I had to create pictures. And then from there, I had to generate some different context. I started using it for bits and pieces of both work and personal life. I've a side gig of mine. I've been writing music, and I'm using Gen AI to help me write the lyrics. In some cases, Gen AI I give it a thought, it creates some lyrics, and then I modify the lyrics to the way that I want it to. Sometimes I'll give it a very robust request with context and situation. I'll even give it the genre, and it will help me build lyrics. And again, I'll tweak them and tune them. But get started. So whether you're starting now, whether you've been involved, whether you're seasoned, stay relevant as AI becomes more integrated into IT, professional lives, personal lives. You need to focus on developing a mixed set of skills relative to asking questions, iterating. Okay. Gen AI is just one facet of AI. Okay. AI has been used for years. Okay. Machine learning has been used for years. Things that you're going to hear talked about are agentic AI, where they're providing agents specific to job functions to help in making a particular function more efficient relative to what it is you're trying to accomplish. You need to master cloud. You need to understand how AI works. How long does it keep that data for? How many iterations? Okay, because there used to be a limit of 30 questions that you could ask AI at any one given time on the same topic. Those things are evolving. A lot of folks, at least in the infrastructure operation space, automation is very important. Infrastructure is code. So learn the tools beyond AI. Learn tools like Terraform. Learn tools like Puppet, Ansible, PowerShell. Then you can start using AI to help you provide more advanced types of scripts or applications. Again, depending on somebody's function. I keep saying that, Jody, but if you're in ITSM, ServiceNow has AI being built into it. If you're in the tools and monitoring observability space, Dynatrace and Big Panda have it. There are products that are being released that are specific to the insurance industry that are now building AI in. So AI is becoming prolific. Today, we talk about AI a lot. Tomorrow, we're not going to talk about AI because it'll just be there. It'll be a part of every single product that is created. There's tons of data. There's tons of books. There's tons of YouTube videos. Get out there and just start experimenting and playing with it. And like I said earlier, you can't break it. So if you ask it a question that may have been off base, close your browser down, open up another browser. It'll reset it. It'll take any of the data that you may have fed it in the previous session. It wipes that out and starts from scratch.
Bob, that is great advice, and it's very exciting. And it was great speaking with you today. Thank you for making the time.
Yeah, thank you, Jody. I appreciate this, and it's something that excites me. I use AI every single day, and I think folks should make it a part of their personal and their work life. So, thanks again.
Thanks for listening to Tech Talent Today, brought to you by Clearmont Technologies IT Staffing and Search. You can find out more at clearmonttech.com. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe and share. See you next time.